welcome to the Career Wednesdays show. Wednesdays are connectors of the week, and on Career Wednesdays, we seek to connect the past, the present, and the future of careers to make sense to you, the young Ghanaian and African, and help you be able to make appropriate, well-informed decisions for your career. We all know that entrepreneurship is picking up, and a lot of people are getting into entrepreneurship. But I think entrepreneurship is a career as well, and thus you need some information to actually walk on that journey or even relate with your employees. Today we are talking about loyalty, side gigs, and building your financial muscle as an employee. Come with me to today's episode and let's learn something new. Hello, our guest today is Mr. Tsuwa Thompson, and he is the CEO and Principal Consultant of RTHE Consults. Mr. Thompson, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Anna. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for honoring our invitation, and I hope you've had a good day today.
My pleasure being here, and it's been a good day so far.
Great to know. So let's just get right into what you're discussing today. For starters, how important is the topic loyalty, side gigs, and building your financial muscle as an employee? How important is it to our audience, 18 to 35-year-olds who are still students, entry level, or are now figuring out their career? How important is this topic to them?
The topic is an important one for our listeners out there, and I'll just love to say hello to everybody out there. We're talking about loyalty, and you know in your personal life that you don't want to move about with those who are disloyal to you. I'm very sure of that. So it is an important topic when we're talking about finances, financial muscles, side gigs, in this day and age where employers won't do everything for you, government won't do everything for you. You need to understand these things. So it's an important topic, Anna.
Great. So what does loyalty mean in today's workplace?
Loyalty. I would love to say that loyalty is less about definitions, and it's more about a lifestyle.
Right.
I mean, when we see loyalty, we see somebody who is genuine, somebody who is caring, somebody who is there for you when it really, really matters, right? That's the characteristic we see about loyalty. So if you do not see an employee who is there when it matters, there is, can I say, a crisis in the workplace, and the person has closed by 5, and we haven't solved the problem, the employer will start to ask, is this person really loyal? And it said, you know your friends when the going gets tough. It's not when it's smooth and rosy that you know your friends. And secondly, a second aspect of loyalty is this. It's a two-way street. When you look at the employer, you look at the employee, you look at it even in friendships, it's not a win-lose game. It's a win-win game. So the employer must be loyal to the employee, and the employee should also be loyal. But I would take a step forward and say this. Employers who want loyal employees should take the first step forward.
So employers who want loyal employees should take the first step forward. I think you mentioned a little bit about what I'm coming to ask you, which is how important it is both to the employee and to the employer.
Great. Let me approach it this way. Let's use an analogy or an illustration, if you like. When you're building a house, in between the bricks you have cement or mortar, and it holds the bricks together. That is how loyalty works. It holds or brings people together. Now, if there's no loyalty, then the house comes crumbling down. So you have an employee, like I tried to say earlier, who at the first sign of trouble, and let me underscore the trouble, financial trouble, he cleans his CV and is looking for the nearest door out of that company. In reality, that's not a loyal employee. So you can see that that company is going to suffer if it has such employees who are not loyal. At the same time, the flip side of the coin is this. the company is going through a tough time, and immediately it says, we are no longer training anybody. Or they start to lay off staff immediately. You see, there is a clear display of disloyalty. At the slightest sign of trouble, you have gone ahead to do what? Remove the perks an employee should enjoy, or you have laid people off. Now, when there's that sense in the workplace, nobody is going to give their best.
Okay.
The employee will not give his or her best, and the employer obviously won't give his or her best in that situation. So it is extremely important for the employee's growth in their career path, for the employer's growth in terms of the business. It is extremely important that both parties are loyal to themselves if they want to enjoy the benefits.
Right. That's very insightful, because then it's a two-way street and it's a two-way affair. You give to me, I give to you. You receive from me, I receive from you. That's how it goes then.
Exactly.
Okay, so should you be loyal to all employers, especially in today's uncertain job or career path? You mentioned something about laying off when maybe things are not going too well. So should you be loyal to all employers, or there's something you should look out for in an employer that you can be loyal to?
Should you be loyal to all employers? The first thing I'll tell you about loyalty is that it speaks to your character.
Okay.
So the question really is, should you be loyal to yourself? That's the real question here. Now, for instance, because my employer is no longer training me and I feel bad, what do? I decide I'll come to work late. I decide I'll close on time. I won't really give my all. But what are you doing to yourself in that process? You are effectively reducing your personal brand. You are no longer presenting yourself as a professional. And even you are giving the employer the mandate or a warrant to go ahead and to fire you for underperformance. So you find out that a lot of people start to misbehave because they feel that you're not loyal to me. But the first thing you have done is to wreck your own reputation by being disloyal, in effect. Now, some people at the same time may say, and you see, I mean, I'm not being disloyal from that perspective, but I want to leave the company. But you see, mentally, what happens to a lot of people is that because you've cleaned your CV, you're already pushing to get out, you're 1 foot out, 1 foot in. So you're not giving your best. So at the ending of the day, you are lowering your standards, you're not behaving as a professional, and that could wreck your existing relationship. Let us not forget, your new employer would ask for a reference from your old employer. So first and foremost, be loyal to yourself so you don't wreck your reputation. Continue to be loyal till you walk out of the door so that employer can give you a good reference when the time comes.
So it's not just about being loyal to the employer, but then it's about being loyal to yourself, because people always come back to ask for references, right?
Exactly.
And that's just like you go to school and you have a big fight with your lecturer and you leave and you go and ask him for a reference. He'll probably give you a bad review.
He would most likely give you a bad review unless he's somebody of a high level of character and integrity, and he going through the reference would score you appropriately. But when it comes to, maybe they say, what's the person's temper like, or emotional intelligence level, he may score you an average because of that outburst.
Yes, that is very true. So what activities or actions would constitute loyalty or disloyalty in the workplace?
This is a tricky question, because in reality, disloyalty and loyalty in today's world is relative. It's relative to what's the policy in the company.
Okay.
What are the norms or the culture that you experience in a company, and then your personal philosophy. So I'll give you an example. A colleague has done something wrong. Per policy, you should report that colleague.
Okay.
And if you do that, your employer sees you as loyal. But generally, the norm is a norm of mind your own business.
Yes.
So if you report your colleague, you're seen as being disloyal. So in reality, it is a relative situation, it's a fluid situation. I'll give you another example. Your employer says, I'm going to get you a promotion if you can, as the quality manager, edit the report before the Food and Drugs Authority visits. The Food and Drugs Authority visits, you've edited the report, your company gets a pass mark, and you get a promotion, bigger salary. And the MD shakes your hand. You've been loyal to the company. But at the ending of the day, you have been disloyal to yourself. You have been disloyal to your personal philosophy of integrity, your personal philosophy of doing what is right. So in certain circumstances, right, or in all circumstances, you'll find out that loyalty is tied back to character, is tied back to integrity, is tied back to accountability. So in the moment, in that moment, and that's why I said there's a quagmire of policy, norms, culture, and personal philosophy. In that moment, you would essentially know what is right and what is wrong to do. So if a company is calling upon you to do what is wrong, be loyal to yourself first and foremost. You cannot wreck your reputation. Interestingly, some companies, if they benefit from you doing what is wrong, they'll pat you on the back. But if there's some sort of sanction by a regulatory authority, or a customer says, I won't do business with you again, you become the scapegoat. You are sacrificed because it came out that something wrong was done. And they ask, who was that employee who did it? And it's you. So at that point in time, they don't see you as being loyal per policy. And you get the boot and you're out. And you wonder, I was trying to help the company. So that's why I say, rather than look at it as, this is disloyal, this is loyal, look at it more from an integrity, accountability picture.
Okay.
What is right and wrong in that moment, and stand true to what matters. Because what matters to your company at that point in time, right, may not be the truth, it may not be integrity, and being loyal to yourself at that point in time and saying no is more important than saying yes to what could mess up your career and put you in trouble.
That's really, it just reminds me of a quote I heard that said that you go in and out of jobs and careers, but the only thing you carry constantly is yourself. And I think that's something that we have to give a lot more thought to when it comes to maybe loyalty in the workplace.
I totally agree. Many years ago, 2006, and I didn't appreciate what he was saying at the time, but one of our bosses back home in Nigeria said that we promise you lifetime employability, not lifetime employment. Lifetime employability in effect means by the time you go through this company, you would have picked skills, talents, competencies you can use elsewhere and continue working. But we can't promise you that we will always have a job for you. And you need to remember that, because if you are fired, that is a stain on your CV. And that type of stain is very hard to remove.
So I think we've said a lot about how loyalty plays a role in the employment and all. Is there something you'd want to add about how it plays a role in getting partnerships and even getting clients?
I mean, loyalty, like I said, is tends towards being lifestyle. It applies across board because everybody wants somebody that is loyal to them, right? Some people are not really interested in being loyal to you, but they need you to be loyal to them. But what is partnership? Okay, so let's look at partnerships and clients. So if you look at a partnership, two people or more are working together to achieve a common goal, right? Now, how can two work together unless they agree, which is a popular verse from the Bible. Now, loyalty is just like saying, how can two walk together unless they're loyal to themselves? So imagine a partnership where one partner is taken from the pot, or one partner is doing business by the side and shortchanging the other partner. Or one partner is doing all the work and the other partner comes to do the accounting alone. Right? You see, unless you are loyal to the mission of the partnership, unless you're loyal to your other partners, then it's obvious you are going to fall out of that partnership. So at the heart of every partnership, one critical ingredient obviously is loyalty. So don't go into a partnership with somebody who you perceive as not being loyal to you, who will not be loyal to that mission, who is distracted by other things. It's one of the reasons why I'm very fast to say no. I typically say no always before I say yes, because it gives me the time to evaluate. But once I've said yes, I'm committed.
Yes.
And look at clients. A lot of clients have suffered bad service. So what is a client looking for? A client is looking for excellent service. But excellent service it's almost like a machine gun. You're firing, you're hoping the bullets will hit the enemy. So most clients, in relating with one vendor or another vendor, are hoping that this is the vendor that would deliver. Now, unless they get a referral. A referral makes life easy.
Yes.
Right? Or a name that is already associated with excellent service. But even when you come on board, you have to prove that it's not just my brand, it's not just the referral, but this is who we really are. We give excellent service. Now, when you give excellent service over and over again, the client relaxes. They believe I am in good hands. This person will actually take good care of me. This person appreciates what I do, and they're here to help me go to the next level. They feel that you understand them and you're ready to help them. They feel they can trust you, and they feel essentially that you are loyal to their cause. So in this case for the client, I would say the loyalty is a process when it comes to clients.
Okay.
You have to go through that process of proving your worth before they would start to peg you as being loyal.
So can I say that a part of being loyal, either as an employee or as a company, comes with the sense of ownership for the kind of people you work with? So maybe you get to the place where you own the client's business as if it was your own, and then you treat it very well, because if it was your own, you would have treated it well as well.
Definitely. I mean, it's difficult to say you are loyal to anything if you don't have a special place in your heart for that thing, right? And a special place in your heart implies ownership, right? It implies ownership. So at the ending of the day, if you ask me, there is no loyalty if ownership is lacking.
There is no loyalty if ownership is lacking. What are the options that are there for an employee to build his financial muscle? While still being loyal.
While still being loyal
Yes.
and in employment.
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at, let me quickly touch on some things.
Definitely.
First of all, knowledge.
Okay.
The second thing I'll talk about is frugality. Frugality, being frugal. Then you have the capital market, you have the stock market, and then you can start to talk about business, as it were, or being self-employed. Now, knowledge. A lot of people want money for money's sake. Interestingly, a lot of people want money to spend it on what is frivolous.
Okay.
I want a bigger car. I want to live in a better place. And unfortunately, what they're doing is they are raking up more expenses for themselves. And by so doing, they will always have a need for more money. Now, what our listeners need to understand is you need to have a good understanding of money, to be able to be financially stronger. An excellent book you can read is Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay.
It gives a good understanding of money. Okay? Without that understanding, anything else you do would be a struggle. Anything else you do will be a struggle. Before you invest, before you go into business, you need to understand money. You need to understand how money works. So that's the first thing. Secondly, frugality, being frugal. Okay, for instance, if you want to be rich, what is being rich? Rich is my net worth is higher than the next person's net worth in a very, very layman's sense. But if you keep on raking up a lot of expenses relative to your income, you can never be rich. You can never be better off financially. So being frugal is all about bringing my expenses down.
Okay.
So if you're doing national service, possibly you're posted to somewhere in Upper West, for instance, and you are a teacher, you have a colleague teacher, and both of you are there in the school's accommodation, and you have to go and meet your colleague and say, help me with sugar, please. There's a problem. You earn exactly the same thing.
Exactly.
None of you are getting money from anywhere else but your service allowance. So why is it that you're meeting your colleague for sugar? It's because you are spending money in the wrong way. But when you're being frugal, you lower your expenses, and by so lowering your expenses, you actually have savings. And savings build up over time, which puts you on a better financial footing than the average person out there. Now that positions you for the next level, the capital market, right? In the capital market, we have things like treasury bills, fixed deposits, a call account. You have the savings account. So you have the barest minimum, which is a savings account. Those extra monies are sitting there earning interest for you. Okay. But that's the lowest level of interest. Some banks 2%, 2 to 4% possibly. But then you have the call account. You can attach a call account where your money is not readily accessible, but you earn slightly more, 6-7% per annum. Then you can talk about fixed deposits. You earn slightly more, a little bit more than a call account, but it's fixed for 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, even 12 months, where you can earn better interest on those savings that you're not touching. And of course, you have treasury bills. That's the highest. Now, these forms of making money are the most secured. Yes. They are protected. Their deposits protected under law. But then you jump into the stock market. You're buying shares. Now imagine if you bought shares in any of these banks that just collapsed. Guess what? You are a part owner, right? Nobody's going to refund your shares to you. So you see, the risk has gone up.
Yes.
Now you're an employee. You're just using your extra cash at this point in time to either be in the capital market or be in the stock market. But in the stock market, you're an owner because it's equity.
Yes.
So you're at risk. But then you say to yourself, okay, these are nice, but I don't want to do this. I want to do something that can turn around cash faster. So you see some young ladies and some young guys come to the workplace, and in their boot, what do they have? A suitcase. They are selling shirts or shoes or cosmetics. They are essentially selling items. So they have started to do some level of business.
Okay.
They have started to do some level of business. And the returns, more than often, tend to be better and faster than capital market or stock market. Right? So these are options that are available to improve your financial worth. Of course, the question of loyalty, how to manage the last phase, which is selling or being involved in some sort of trade or some sort of venture while an employee, now comes in.
So then let's just jump right into the side gigs, because I mean, most of us understand doing something extra on the side, whilst employed, as being a side gig, be it a business or rendering the same service you are doing at your day job at another place or something. So do you think that it's okay to use skills you've learned from your current employment in your side gigs, and is it okay to have the same side gig as your day job?
There's a term called conflict of interest.
Okay.
So assuming I am in an accounting from an audit firm and I am running audits for other people who are not clients of my firm, some will argue that there is no conflict of interest in such a situation. Okay. However, morally, as an employee, loyal to your company, you should be pushing for your company's growth. So ideally, somebody would say that those clients should come under your company's portfolio because you are effectively making yourself a competitor to your employer who is paying your salary. That would, to some extent, constitute, from a moral standpoint, at a minimum, a conflict of interest. So the question is, how do I use my current skills for a side gig while not competing with my employer? So for instance, you have accounting skills. Your employer does audits, external audits alone, looking at people's financials. It's done once a year and helping them put together their books to send to the Registrar General, to Ghana Revenue Authority, and whoever else needs those books. But they do not do, let's call it, monthly accounting services. They don't help you review your management accounts. They don't provide such services where they review management accounts and advise on steps to take to improve maybe liquidity, improve, collection of debts from customers. If you're offering that as a service, there's obviously no conflict of interest because your company has decided that it wouldn't do anything like that. So you're using your accounting skills to do something that your company is not doing at all. And looking at it from that perspective, you can be seen as okay. But what happens in a lot of cases, let's take the civil service for instance, you have a lot of employees who leave their day job by 12 p.m. in the civil service, and nobody should take an offense here, but leave their day job, they go elsewhere to do a side gig. But if you look at that situation, is that a side gig? It's becoming a main dish. When you go to a restaurant, you have the main dish and then you have the side dishes. It's the main dish that fills you. The side ones, you use it to embellish the main dish. And that's a mistake a lot of people make. If you get fired from your main job, in most cases, the side gig hasn't grown to a point where it can sustain you. And may not ever sustain you. So you need to be careful in making some decisions with respect to the side gig. But I must add, we would most likely always venture into areas where we have strengths, not where we are weak.
Of course.
So you would most likely venture into an area where competencies you've learned, and let's remember, we don't just learn one competence working with a specific employer. We learn multiple competencies. So you would most likely want to do something that pertains to that. So if I'm in the HR department and I'm doing internal training, I'm doing internal training for my company alone. But I can go out and train other companies. There is no conflict of interest there. But I'm using that training skill my company has taught me to do a side gig. To add to that, you have your leave, you have weekends, more than often you have evenings as well. So you have holidays, you have all these periods in a year where you can use these periods for the side gig. And it's important. Let's not joke about with doing business. It is a very frustrating, tiring, and challenging work for a lot of people. It's not a hobby. So using these periods to get a hold and to see how the side gig works is important. Because down the line, if you don't have a job, you can actually say this side gig will work for me, or it won't work for me because I've tried it. So you can actually drop a side gig and try something else while still in employment.
Okay. That's very useful information, especially about the part of trying other things, so that you know, should anything go bad at your company, you know that, okay, I've tried sewing, I've tried cooking, and then cooking works better and maybe fits me better. So if something is wrong here, I could get into that. And I mean, the conflict of interest explanation too is very useful, because I don't think most of us think about it as being in competition with our current employers. We just take it that, oh, but this is the skill I have, so that's the only thing I can do. But I think knowing that we can learn multiple competences and be able to try multiple things would actually help us resolve some of these issues.
I mean, before you go on, I can add something. You don't want to be in a position where there's a conflict. You can learn a new skill.
Okay.
You can learn a new skill, and let us face facts. With digital transformations that are going on all over the world, old skills, a lot of them are either dying or they're going through a metamorphosis. So in that sense, nothing is staying old. So it is a time for us to explore new terrains, and by so doing, we can actually find a side gig that nobody else is actually doing today. That's innovation for you.
Okay. So we had a couple of questions from the audience, and we would want to answer some of them. I think we've answered a lot of them in our discussion. So I'll just mention the ones that we were not able to cover. So this one says, must loyalty be valued over opportunity?
Must loyalty be valued over opportunity? Now, I believe what you're asking is, I have an opportunity elsewhere, and I would love to go for that opportunity. So do I put it aside, or do I put it aside in the name of loyalty, or do I go for that opportunity? I think that's a decision for you to make, right? That's a decision for you to make. Sincerely speaking, there are a lot of things that go into making such decisions.
Okay.
Some people would not, for instance, a lot of people will be offered double their salary and will not leave Google as a company. They would not leave Google as a company. Part of that is the culture there is great.
Yes.
What they get there in terms of training, the people they work with, is just phenomenal. So they will never leave Google, no matter what you offer them. They will write off such opportunities as no opportunities. Right? So in that circumstance, the person has chosen to be loyal in effect.
Yes.
So you have to look at what you have in hand and ask yourself, am I getting trained here? Am I on a great career path here? Would I improve on a day-to-day basis, on an annual basis here? Where can I go to beyond even the money I'm being paid? Right? You may be looking at a future where you want to be an entrepreneur, and this is the best place for you to develop those competencies that will help you. But that new place will not help you. That new place may offer you double the salary, but it's not going to help you with your future purpose and your future goal. In that situation, I would say stay where you are. Be loyal to where you are, because it's in line with what you are trying to achieve. So, I mean, this question is less about loyalty and more about what's your mission, what is your purpose in life, and which one really fits you best.
Okay. So it's not every opportunity that is necessarily an opportunity. But
Exactly.
it all comes back to who you are, where you are going, and what you want to do eventually.
Exactly.
Okay, so this one says, how do I repent from being unfruitful because I've been sidetracked by a side gig?
How do I repent from being unfruitful? You repent in simple terms, right? No, really in simple terms. The word repent, at least from the Greek language, means a change of mind.
Okay.
So essentially, you just need to change your mind. What I'll tell a lot of people is, if you've agreed to a job, to a certain amount of pay, you have a clear responsibility and personal accountability is placed upon you to be loyal, or you sign a resignation letter and leave that job. But in essence, you can't say you were sidetracked. The truth is you decided not to focus on your main dish, and you decided to focus more on your side gig, right? So it's really up to you. The way you decided to focus more on the side gig, have a change of mind. Focus more on the main, right? Because you have to be honorable. Now, to do that, you just need to put a system in place that allows your side gig to continue to work, possibly with you now being focused more on your main dish, your core job. Okay? I mean, this is the hard truth. If not, you should be looking at a slow, well, not necessarily slow, but definitely a gradual exit from your current employment into the side gig. But I know of somebody who said, hey, my side gig is doing pretty well for me. I'm going to leave my main employment. When he did that, he was actually surprised. He called some people who he had known through the main gig, and they weren't picking his calls. So you really have to do a very good evaluation. What is a side gig as a side gig may not be great as a main dish.
What is great as a side gig may not be great as a side dish. What would be your number one financial advice? Our audience are basically 18 to 35-year-olds. There may be other people who watch, but for this group of people, what would be your number one financial advice?
You have a wide audience, actually. In that audience, you have people in the university.
Yes.
You have people who are doing national service or entry level. And amongst all those people at the same time, you have some people who have done quite a few years, and some of them are married.
Yes.
So financial advice to this wide group of people is, if you ask me, it'll be difficult to say, okay, this is it. So, but let me go back to what I said earlier, because I think that is what really matters. Understand and know about money.
Okay.
Understand and know about money. If you do not understand money, you are going to continually always be in a position where you need more money, more money. No promotion will work for you. And you know why? Because the moment you're promoted, you spend more. And therefore, you net off that promotional increase that you're earning. And then what are you looking for again? The next promotion or the next avenue for more income. It shows that you are effectively not very good with money. So the strongest advice I'll give you, and I've given you a book recommendation, which is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'll give you another book recommendation. And don't pick only one word in this title, by the way. It's called The Millionaire Next Door. The Millionaire Next Door, right? Another great book that will help structure your mindset about how to manage money. And looking at side gigs, guess what? Typically, it takes money to be able to generate more money.
Okay.
So if you are bad with money, you're always spending money, what will happen is you won't even have money for a side gig. And even if you have money for a side gig, the moment you get money back, you end up spending the money. So the side gig can't grow in itself.
Okay.
So foundational advice, get to understand money for what it's worth. And that is a good position for all, like a, can I say, a springboard for you to leap off. And I think you'll be better off.
So understand money. In simple terms, understand money. Thank you so much, Mr. Thompson, for being with us today. What would be some of your last words to our audience as we wrap up?
Happy to be here and happy to share my thoughts with you. My last words will be this: companies are changing. Let me put it this way: great companies think in a different way from the average company out there. And you want to work with a great company because great companies last. The last, they move from generation to generation. And that means that you would get a job that is much more secured. And because of that, you would have income that you can play about with when you understand money, to have savings, to invest in shares, to invest in a side gig, to be able to to show love to those who are close to you. But such great companies have a way they think. Southwest Airlines in the US says this, and I want to use this as to picture what they think. They say they hire for character and they train for skills. They hire for character and train for skills. If you want to last in a great company, then your character must be great. They can train you. They can send you abroad. They can do anything to get your hands and your brain moving in the right direction to achieve great results. But character really, really is all about you. Integrity is about you. Accountability is about you. Loyalty is about you. Being emotionally intelligent is all about you. So my last words to you are simple. Work on you, that personality, and you'll be a great fit for a great company. And once you're a great fit for a great company, you have a great future ahead of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So you've heard it. Work on you. Thank you so much for being with us in this show. We are grateful you spent the whole time with us, and I hope you also did take away something. Like the video, leave a comment, let us know what resonated with you, and share it with a friend who may need it. You can connect with us on social media, Instagram and Facebook, Career Wednesdays. Thank you very much, and see you in the next episode.